Howdy, howdy, and welcome back to Gale FFTCG. I'm Serah, your host, and today we're going to be doing a rarity review of Ice in Opus 22. Please drop a like, let me know what cards you're excited for in the comments, and if you like what you see, please consider subscribing. And without further ado, let's dive straight into this rarity review. Up first, we've got 1 CP Uke. It's an FFCC Ice backup that costs 1 CP, and when Uke enters the field, you can effectively scry, so you can look at the top card, and you can choose to put on the bottom if you like. The category is relevant. It is FFCC, so it is searchable off Norstalen. I don't think this will be replacing any cards, as you can see in the cons. There are just better backups in this sort of slot, and also in the elements. The 3 CP Uke that lets you get a wind card is very searchable off of Norstalen. If you're searching this card off of Norstalen, you can't play it on curve, so that's kind of meh. But it is a cheap backup with a good ability. I think in commons only, this is going to be a very good card and going to see lots of play. But yeah, this was my favorite common. I don't make the sets. I don't get to decide if there's any like crazy bomb cards in the set in common. Some elements get some good cards, some don't, and this is unfortunately one of those times that doesn't. But I like the card. I don't think it's necessarily a bad card. I just don't think it will see a ton of play. But in a rare slot, I think this card will see a lot of play. This is Emina. Pros, it has tons of good context. When it enters the field, we can search for an ice character of cost 2 or less and add it to our hand. That is monsters, forwards, backups, basically anything that isn't a summon, we can search for and add to our hand. And ice has a ton of these, everything from 2 CP Laswell to cards like 2 CP Arcanist and Unalesca. This just gets everything you want. This can even get Biblos. It's an incredible deck. A lot of my friends and I have been playtesting with the Mono Ice package, and we're very excited to play this card, especially because Emina kind of brings a whole new life to Ice and Mono Ice backups, especially. Yeah, it's incredible. I have done this in a couple of the other videos. There aren't really any cons to this. This will generate you CP over time. It can get you to 2 backups on turn 1, which is incredibly powerful and should not be underestimated. This card is great. The fact it's a rare is even better. Get as many copies of this as you can because it's gonna be a good card. Up next, we have Squall, and this is a card for all of my FF8 fanboys out there. Squall being an 8k, that if you control 4 or more category 8 characters, Squall gains plus 2k, and if Squall is dealt damage by your opponent's abilities, that damage becomes 0 instead. At the beginning of the attack phase, during each of your turns, you may play 1 category 8 forward of cost 4 or less for your hand onto the field. The category is very relevant. FFA got a ton of good stuff this set, so that is really worth keeping an eye on. I think the deck has some legs now. Maybe could use like 1 or 2 more cards, but this is perfect for pushing that along. FF6 needed quite a big push, and I think FF8 needed quite the push as well. It has a ton of good context around it. I've already touched on this a little bit, but with all the FF8 that does exist in this set, it's super, super relevant. I don't think that first ability, though, is going to be used quite as often as you think. I could totally be wrong with that. I haven't really looked at this card in a great amount of detail, but it was the heroic that really stood out to me. But yeah, this card is still great. Being able to play something down at the beginning of attack phase is just really strong, and it's gonna give you so much advantage over the course of a game. I don't think it's possibly the most broken category-specific card we've ever had, but I think it's just good enough, and for that reason, I've put it in the heroic slot. And last, but certainly not least, a card I am so excited for, especially with Emina, is Kurasame. Kurasame is a 7CP 9K Agato Cadet, which is not super relevant, but it's fun that you can search it. When Kurasame enters the field, you select one of the following actions. You choose up to the same number of characters as the ice backups you control. You Dole Freeze them. Or your opponent discards one card for each ice backup you control. And it also has a special, which is just choose a 4-deal at 9K. This is one of the decks I've been playtesting with, and Emina completely shines in this one. You can get to 5 backups pretty quick in mono ice at the moment, and being able to have this card be a reactive card, a proactive card, and also having the special to be removal just makes this card so good. In any playtesting I've done with it, it's been incredibly powerful, and yes, like, you just want this card. If you have any interest in building mono ice whatsoever, Kurasame is the thing that makes that deck go. The cons, it does cost quite a lot, and you are kind of all in on one plan, but it's also the most fair way of playing any sort of powerful FFTCG deck. We're kind of living in the meta of aggression, and this card does do some small part in at least mitigating a little bit of that aggression. It is a cool card, and I cannot wait to play with it. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Once again, please drop a like. Let me know what cards you're excited for in the comments. And if you like what you see, please consider subscribing. Have a great day and a great rest of your week.